Right folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me in the beautiful landscape of Scotland. Today I've actually come to the beautiful lands of Glen Lethnot, and in the last video I was actually at an old prehistoric burial mound, and that just sits on the hill up here behind where I am today. And today I've actually come to look at a more modern burial ground. I believe it's an old graveyard, an abandoned church dating back to the 1700s, or maybe even before it, for a site like this. And I have to walk past, I think, the Glen Lethnot caravan site, and then up the main road, and then in the gate, because I believe the old house, which was the manse for the church, it's actually still a current private residence, and that's why I'm not going to go up this way. I think the abandoned church is actually over to the left. This is an incredible historic piece of land here in Angus and in Scotland, because it's actually got the two massive hill forts of the White Carthan and the Brown Carthan over here, and that's so cool to think about it. There's been folk kicking about in these lands ever since that prehistoric time, like thousands of years ago. It's believed it's anywhere between, like, obviously 2,500 years ago to like 4,000 years ago and before it. And to speak about history like that in these lands, it's just mind-blowing. Anyway, let's punch around here. I'll update you once I'm past the caravan site. Look at this beautiful autumn scene on today's video, folks. The leaves are fairly coming off the trees now. Probably in another couple of weeks it'll be a bare, barren winterland out here. It's always amazing that I keep finding these places that I've never documented before. There's always so much history in places like this to be found, and I love these wee adventures, just coming out and throwing them on video and often try to navigate to them. That's part of the fun. It's like a wee mission to get into an area, document the history, and then get back out. And I think it's just literally over here. Yeah, look at this, you can see the leaves falling down off the trees. So look at this, there's some old beech trees along the edge of the path into the church, and like you can see, somebody's been writing their name on the tree at an ancient time. It's hard to see if that's even a year. I sometimes like looking for ancient historical graffiti on the trees, maybe dating back to the time when this church was in its prime. Yeah, it's a beautiful old building. It looks like the roof's off it, but the walls are in great condition, and it's actually got a wee bell tower. So let's see what it looks like. Check out that, folks, for the character of abandoned Scotland. And this is what I love bringing you on the channel. Little sites like this every year, they fall down more and more, or the weather starts to decay them more and more. And just look at this, I think there is burials within this land. Oh look, here's the old cast iron gate, or old iron gate from back in the day. And look, when things like this were made, whoa, there's a rodent somewhere here. I just seen it run. But yeah, look, when things like this were made, look at the detail, the craftsmanship of that metalwork. Yeah, so those gates obviously stood here at a certain time. Look at the wee latch mechanism, folks. I love to see that. That's just the first detail of this place. It gives you an idea of how grand and beautiful it was at a certain time. And we'll go and take a look at some of the burials as well before we get out of here. First of all, we'll look at the building itself. And in the 1800s map, this was like the current church. So it's interesting to see how degraded it is for that amount of time. The windows and stuff may be taken out. It looks like the roof may have been removed rather than it just falling down naturally. Yeah, there's some real ancient gravestones here within this long grass. 1840, this one. It just shows you the weather can actually make things sometimes look older than they are. This is a real deal 1800s graveyard today, and look at the church building from here. Such a beautiful scene of Scotland. I need to take a step back, folks. We're getting this through the perfect angle right here. Wow, that is beautiful. This is my favourite angle of the building. To see it with the bell tower at the far side. Just think of the history of the local community here at Glen Lethnot, the people that would have come here maybe for ceremonies every week. And maybe a place like this was a real social hub of a little glen like this for the longest time. It would have seen the happiest and also the saddest of times throughout the years, and then one day it was just abandoned, obsolete, no longer needed for the local community. More modern ways of life take over. Culture of the land and the people change so much. Look how it's had beautiful windows here with the carved stonework at the top, and then even the door. And then there's the other door at the far end, so it's been like maybe 2 separate rooms, the main church, and then an area at the end maybe where the vicar would have kicked about. Oh yeah, look at this folks, this is incredible. The scene of Scotland. It's had a little attic space there, I believe. And look at it at this side. Oh, you can see remains where the bars of the window have actually been in to the edge of the stone. Not unless those stones have been repurposed before the church was made. There could have been an even older chapel here, and then this more grand construction was built on the site. I can hear my voice echoing. I'm keeping my voice down out of respect for the nearby house. See an interesting detail here, folks, look at this. It's almost been like a little, maybe a burial chamber or something within the wall. Like a kist, or whatever you would call it. Some of these inscriptions are so beautiful, look. 1746 it says right there. Wow, folks, this is amazing. And the person, I think it says 22 years, but look how far gone it is. You can hardly even like see it anymore, and that the fact I've documented that date, it's so cool. 1746 I believe it is, and that puts a date on that, because obviously in a few years that'll chip and crumble even more, and then things like that will be unseen, unknown. I just hope there's some representation or picture of this somewhere that's stored. Look at the detail of that carving up at the top. Wow, that's beautiful. It's meant to be the angel, I believe, up at the top there, folks. There's an unusual stone there as well with a hole. Maybe it's been a vent originally. And then this is the other door. I was thinking maybe originally that there had been a partition wall down the middle here, and then this would have been separate at this end. And that would explain why you need obviously the secondary door. But maybe it's just a chapel where they did have the 2 doors coming into the main room. Yeah, this is so much light, and it's been such a light, beautiful building in its day. You can see the size of these massive windows, and I'm not sure if they were stained glass. They would have definitely had the old, like they used to have lead beading, even if it was just normal glass. And it's super interesting just to see this. I just love the history. Just think when it was all wooden lined and it was just beautiful. Maybe plaster work with the chairs in the middle here. So much of it's just gone and forgotten. And up the stairs, I believe it's maybe had a separate, it's hard to know from these windows. Maybe that has all just been open. Imagine the wooden beams of the roof. It's just amazing, folks. Your imagination can run wild when you see the history. Look at these holes cut out that at one time would have held the door frame. Wood would have been put into those holes like this here. That'll be original wood. And then obviously they could screw stuff onto that, like the door frame and whatever else. Wow, this is beautiful, folks. Look at these gravestones here. This one's super cool. It looks like it's bulging, and I think if you actually touch that, it would just break and fall away. I love the way that they've carved all this. It's so detailed, so intricate. The amount of time and care that was taken with things back in those days. It's just special to see and document on the channel. Yeah, look, the back of this one here. He died in 1755. So that shows the church on this site is dating back from definitely the 1700s, but most likely older times. These glens are historical, like I said, for thousands of years there's been settlements and habitation. And they would have had a wee chapel like this for their religious meetings and whatever else. Look at this, this has been like an old bottom of what I think was a stone coffin. I think it used to have the sides, and then it would have been cut out with the shape of a head. A bit like we saw when we were at the Lethnet Priory. Yeah, look, I just noticed this. I'm not sure if this is... Yeah, it's like a Celtic cross here within the tree line. What do we have here, folks? 1868, but look at the detail of this. The Celtic cross. And then look at this massive grave over here. Yeah, I'm just looking at every direction at all these different graves, so I don't miss any details, folks. Obviously I didn't go around and document every single grave, it's just the most interesting ones often. Look, 1750. So like, it's just crazy the dates. Imagine 1750, folks, and like literally how long ago that is. These stones have been sitting out here on this hill in the remote Scottish glen. Look, these metal bars have actually been cut off and taken away. And sometimes in the war there was a big effort to go around and collect metal so that they could use it for munitions and ships and whatever else in the British war effort. And that's why sometimes graveyards like this, the bars and metal railings got taken away. And then it turned out a lot of them were actually no use because it was the wrong type of metal that they needed for what they were doing. So a lot of the scrap metal that was taken from the land of Scotland was actually dumped out at sea, or like dumped in old quarries and stuff like that. So yeah, there's an interesting fact, folks, of British warfare that's kind of related to things like this. When you see the railings cut off, and it looks like the name I'm seeing here is Carnegie. There's a few different names here, folks. Obviously Carnegie's a big name, big Scottish classic name. There's a lot of families that have that surname in the lands of Scotland. Same with this one over here, I'm seeing the name Duncan. It is just amazing. Each little gravestone here, it's almost forgotten in such a peaceful spot. Sometimes generations of families like die off or move away, and then the gravestones are no longer cared for or tended to. And that's how often you can see some of them that sadly just like fallen down or broken away. Sometimes these little videos just save the memory of those people as well. It's just so far off the beaten path sometimes, a place like this. It's just abandoned history at its finest. And look, it's had these little windows, maybe to get a bit of light in at this end of the church. And then you can see the fine bell tower there standing on top of the wall, on top of the peak. And probably they used to ring it. You would have heard that ringing if you came on a Sunday to these Scottish glens. It's good to see, like, at one time it has been repointed or cared for in a certain way. So that's pretty cool to see it. It should remain here on the land as a historical, interesting building for maybe a few years to come. I was just looking at the detail of these cornerstones as I walk back around, and I can actually see there's an old metal loop there on the top of the wall, and that would have been where the string for the bell used to come down through, and there's still a wee metal plate where the rope would have gone. And I'm just wondering if that vent up there, I thought it was an air vent, it's maybe been where the rope used to go in, and then they could ring the bell from inside the building. That's an interesting theory. It looks like the stonework there has been taken out when they've taken the bell out. Each one of these little local Scottish churches and places like that did have the wee bell. But like I said, it was the individual community. Look at this here, how the building is put onto the foundation stones. Just think how long ago this stone under here was, when the whole building's resting on it. That would have been one of their first level areas that they built from. The day that stone was put in was probably, you can just imagine, what would they have been wearing, what would they have been saying. So interesting, folks. Years of history documented once again here on the channel, and I do enjoy theorising some of the history as I go around. So we could see the wood at that end when we looked at the door where things had been mounted, like wooden pegs was probably put into the holes. You can see it on this door as well. That's like a more modern concrete lintel that's been put in there. So I'm not sure if for a period of time the roof was maybe there and then they had taken it down for safety and then gone over the building and just turned it into what it is today. The shape of these top stones, I just love to see it. And I'm sure I could see an interesting stone as well when I looked along the dike line at the edge of the field on the way in. So I'll see what's there. It looked like an old pillar stone or whatever. So that there is another beautiful angle of this place, folks. sometimes I go to switch the camera off and then I think, wow, can check it out from here. And look, this is where the big metal gate has been hanging. It actually looks like there's evidence here of 2 gates, maybe from an older time and then the newer gate. But the external wall of this place is actually in amazing condition. Yeah, look, there's an interesting stone sitting here. It looks like somebody's had a bonfire in this area, and I think that would be from the recent Guy Fawkes celebrations for Halloween. Yeah, this is cool, folks. Check this out. What do we have here? An interesting nugget, maybe related to this place. It's cool to come here and get it from this angle as well, with the mossy dyke in front of it. I wonder if there's been an urn or something at that end. I think there has, on the far peak. Now I've come to this angle, I can see the history. Yeah, look at this here, this is interesting. You know what I think it is? It's a homemade weight block for a tractor. Because you can see, you put the lift arms down at the bottom and then your top link here. So it's an old weight block, so it's no actually castle related, or a church related I should say, folks. Yeah, look at it. What a madness this has been, folks. We're going around the perimeter wall. Look, they've got stones here, maybe folk were jumping out and in. Maybe that was like their shortcut. But anyway, yeah, we've taken it from all angles. We've observed all the history. I can't even speak now. And it is cool. Like I say, we've documented another bit of history from the 1800s. Never seen before on the channel. And today it's Glen Lethnot Church. And it's just amazing to see it and see what's left at a certain time. Often the stormy Scottish weather can ruin these buildings super fast and little historical details go missing, such as like those little gravestones and things where the stone is just about fully chipped off with like the frost and the weather. Sadly, things like that, the inscriptions on them and the carvings, you forget what they look like because they just fall off into a pile of dust on the ground, forgotten forever. And just consider, like, for the early 1700s when that stuff's getting made, it's important to see how it is. It shows you how they cared when they were actually making things and carving. It wasn't just a plain stone for cheapness. It was actually a detailed carving, finished to the finest order, and that's gone from modern society, which is a sad thing. But the same can be said for the architecture of the houses. Nowadays, more of like a prefabricated, thrown up construction, whereas back in the day it was every stone planned out, detailed, carved and fitted into position. Yeah, it's cool on this channel as well to record all that, the old masonry and stuff of these buildings. Anyway, I'm just a bit back to the main road that I started the video on, folks, so I'll probably just end this one here. We've seen another amazing piece of Scottish history. You can see the rooftops of it here, and then the massive silhouettes of the white Carterton and the brown Carterton in the far distance. And it's a beautiful scene of Scotland with the autumn leaves on the trees. Anyway, we'll see you soon with the next one, folks. I'll end this one here. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you very soon with the next one, wherever I end up going.
I'm taking it over.